Alright, bear with me. So in the US, the post-war 40s, or the baby boom of the 50s, is typically thought of as being the age of prosperity, especially for the veterans who came back from Japan and Europe and stuff, and were able to enjoy the benefits of the GI Bill, like dirt cheap subsidized mortgages on new homes in the burbs, free college, monthly checks in the mail, and more. But the post-war era in America was also the beginning of American manufacturing's death spiral, leading us slowly into today's reality, where 97% of our clothing and electronics are imported from factories and sweatshops in developing nations like China, India, and Vietnam. This spiral, of course, was made possible by corporate executives who are now dead that at one point sought to yield a higher profit margin at the expense of American jobs. And here's how they did it. You see, back in the day in 1944, right after the war ended, there was a secret meeting in New Hampshire called the Bretton Woods Conference, where delegates from 44 different allied nations all met up to create something called the IMF, the International Monetary Fund, aka the World Bank, which set the US dollar as the official global currency. Number one, baby, printed right there in Philadelphia. This in turn gave us the magical ability to at will decide how much other countries' money was worth. And if you've ever been to a foreign country and asked yourself how the heck it costs you 100,000 of their dollars to get a cup of coffee in the morning, here's why. The US artificially devalued the currencies of dozens of countries through modified exchange rates after becoming the world standard in 1944, whereafter American business titans frantically built factories in the countries with the lowest dollar, in order to pay people in these countries as little as possible for labor and raw materials. This process is called economic globalization and is the reason for much of the world's poverty, as it forces formerly self-sufficient and non-capital-obsessed countries to industrialize, yet never have the opportunity to evolve into anything more than glorified factory states or amusement park countries for more powerful nations like us. And this was especially true of Mexico in the 1950s. Unlike today, where border cities like Tijuana and Ciudad Juarez are among the country's most populous, border towns were borderline non-existent back in the day. For perspective, in 1930, Mexico City was home to 1.1 million people, and Tijuana had less than 9,000 people living in it. But shortly after tanking the peso back in '44, American companies began building hundreds of steel factories and assembly plants as close to home as possible, which meant across the border from San Diego and Tijuana.